Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today, I'm discussing 3 films with great actresses, great, well-written women. These characters are just, I love them and I wanted to share them. I've just watched these films, 2 of them for the second or third time, and the other one is a fresh watch that just really blew me away. And I wanted to share those with you today, starting with something that will be great if you're in the mood for something spooky, Halloween, some, black and white shadows. Martin Scorsese really popularized this film. This is something I have long admired from 1942 called Cat People. And there is a remake, but I'm talking about the black and white, masterful little Val Lewton production here. And to talk about the film in a way that won't give away everything, but will give you some idea. There's this woman who has come to Manhattan, and she has a belief that is sort of plaguing her mindset. And that belief, to try to explain this in a way that won't make this sound like a bizarre, dumb cult horror movie, because it's not. It's more than that. She believes that she has an ancestry that is inherently evil, that it might be connected to a sort of monster transformation. Suppose you thought that, you came to Manhattan because you were running away from a family of werewolves, right? Something like that, except in this case, it's not werewolves. It's people who turn into these dangerous cats. And the film is full of cat imagery. Great film if you're a cat fan, by the way. If you love cats, you gotta love the film. There are these zoo animal, these panthers that are just in these cages prowling back and forth, and you see her drawing them. She's sort of creepy even from the beginning. And there's also this idea in the film that I think is both a weakness and a strength of the film, actually, that there's a purity that she's lacking, or she thinks it, or maybe even the film thinks it, I don't know. And she, if she could just get rid of that evil, that nocturnal, that undesirable part of herself, she could be more pure and more Christian. I still don't exactly know where the film lands theologically or philosophically or any of that, but it's part of what makes it so interesting. And she just needs to be fixed, On the back of it, it talks about this ancient curse, and she's scared that any intimacy with the man she loves will turn her into a feline predator. The film, directed by Jacques Tourneur, who is a great director, it really took what could have been a run-of-the-mill B-movie and made something truly special out of this character. This is a character you really empathize with. You kind of wish you could have been there to really see what she grew up around and why is she so mysterious, and how much of her problem with her husband is they just aren't a good match, and how much of it is this actual dark, evil, satanic power within her. And there are 2 real special scenes in this film. And but they both have a stalker element. So there is this stalker force thing that stalks another woman in this film. And the tension build is incredible. There's one in the street. You may have seen that scene. And then there's one in a swimming pool. One of my favorite scenes in a swimming pool anywhere. I remember at the end of It Follows, there's that swimming pool scene. I think is better than that even. Really racks up, just builds up that tension. And there are characters that take advantage of her, particularly one who's extremely unprofessional. And I think that there's a lot of commentary on how society treats women, and it's just an extraordinary film, a really cool performance. And I don't want to talk a whole lot about it to, that might kind of give things away about the plot, but just know that I'm not sure there's quite really a good guy in this film. Everybody makes mistakes. And lots of ambiguity to it. Really enjoy seeing this film over and over again. I have a BFI copy of the book. Kim Newman, I think, wrote the essay. Really cool, really, really neat film. But Cat People's a film I like to watch every so often. If you get the disc and the package, which I have here, it's a really cool Blu-ray. It comes with this neat poster and an essay that says "Darkness Betrayed," but you get this big cat. It's really cool. It's a fun cover. It's just a really good one to watch around Halloween. I usually start my Halloween watches sometime at the end of August or early September. And so that one was on my mind, and I wanted to share it. The second one's a film I just watched, but I don't have a copy of yet. I saw it on the Criterion channel. And I'm going to do my best with pronunciations, but this is a real great film that sometimes I think people have thought was kind of plotting or just meandering. I disagree. I think every frame is beautiful and perfect. This is, again, Michelangelo Antonioni's L'Avventura. I hope I'm close on that. The 1960 film L'Avventura. It is awesome. I've seen other films by him. Red Desert comes to mind. The Note, like, it's a really, really well-made film. So Monica Vitti, who is a terrific actress, is this sort of enchanting, like, angelic figure in this film. And the basic plot is that she plays Claudia, and she goes with her friend Anna and some other wealthy folks, and Anna's boyfriend Sandro, and they're going to this island, and one of the characters disappears. And part of the film is the search for that character that disappears. But a larger part of the film is the search, in my opinion, of Claudia for herself and who she is and what she stands for and what she's going to do with herself. It's a lonely, isolated kind of film that speaks primarily through images. It's not very dialogue driven in a lot of ways. You infer a lot through how certain scenes make you feel the blocking. For example, there's a scene where Vitti's character is, Claudia, is surrounded by all these men, and it's uncomfortable, and it makes you feel like the world's against her. There's another scene where she's just helplessly walking through this place that reminded me a little bit of the area outside of the Gold Room in The Shining, despite the fact it's in black and white. Harrowing in some ways. There's a terrific scene where there's a woman with money at her feet that just feels awful to look at, but it's a painful picture in some ways. It affected me emotionally and resonated in a way that I didn't expect it to. I haven't gotten the images out of my head of those ocean waves crashing. It had a little bit of Picnic at Hanging Rock kind of feeling there. If you've ever seen that one, when that character disappears, there's this like creepy little building that some of the characters hold up in that reminded me a little bit of The Lighthouse, which is a more recent black and white film. A truly fascinating picture. And watching that young lady try to deal with a complex set of emotions and this little bit of a transformation that she goes through, something I think a lot of folks can relate to who have gone through difficult processes, right, of grief or just trying to make it through another day. It's worth a near 2.5 hour runtime. I don't think it's boring at all. It is slow cinema in a way. I mean, you have a lot of these like really beautiful architecture shots that you kind of look at and admire, and like you let those images kind of influence how you feel. And so it's not a lot of talking. It's not a lot of gab. And maybe that's part of why people don't love the pacing, but I do. So I highly recommend that film. And I love that character, Claudia. And I think Monica Vitti was like a perfect casting for that. Now, my third recommendation, that is mostly talking, that the director kind of gets out of the way, in my opinion. It's a really good film. I just rewatched it. This is called All About Eve from, 1950? And I have made my own little case here. I took a DVD case, because the only thing I have is this like old version of the film that I got for Christmas one year, and I just like printed out a cover so that I could like preserve it, because the DVD is like actually playing a pretty good image for it. Bette Davis, Ann Baxter, George Sanders. Love George Sanders. And I hadn't seen this in many years, but I just got finished watching it. My wife and I watched it, and this like Bette Davis, like so compelling in every role she's in. And often, like, I've found that with Bette Davis films, the film isn't always as good as she is. This film clicked on every cylinder, fires on all cylinders. And basically, if you've never heard of this film, Bette Davis plays this really successful a theater actress. George Sanders is like this harsh critic who, right away, he kind of is like sneering and sort of telling us part of the story with why she is how she is. And then these other characters, like there's a playwright, there's a guy that she's been dating for a while but isn't married to, who's involved with the theater. And this young woman, Eve Harrington, works her way into Margot Channing's life and sort of works alongside of her, studies her, and there is something that happens with that whole situation with Eve. Thus, All About Eve. Marilyn Monroe has a small role, and that small role actually tells you a lot of the story. This young, she plays the character as such a, not an intelligent, not the most insightful, but it's funny. It's good comic relief, and you want to believe, you want to be able to say, you know what, that's Eve, but it's not. Eve is incredibly clever and calculated, as is Margot. The script, the dialogue, I mean, it just sizzles. It's full of illusions. It's full of candor and life, and it actually feels like a theater play playing out. There is not a lot of there's not a lot of the cinematography doing the heavy lifting in this film, except there's something I really noticed. Sometimes you'll see a character delivering a monologue, or the characters yelling at each other, and they yell a lot, and it's fun to watch. And you'll see kind of a portrait or a painting in the background. And a lot of the times the painting will sort of match the mood. Remember, there's one shot where there's a painting that to me looked kind of abstract, and I think that really worked well with some of the concepts that are being discussed in that conversation. And you'll see others, there's a really tense moment at this party in the house where if you're looking for it, you'll really. In another one, there's one of those shots where if you remember The Shining with the knives over the kid's head when he's talking to Scatman Crothers, and you're like, oh gosh, that's foreshadowing. There's one with a gun where there's a character talking and there's a gun. There's lots of little stuff like that in the background, but really most of the heavy lifting is on the actors, especially that landmark performance from Bette Davis. This is such a good performance from her. And I hadn't seen it in a long time, so I pulled out just this DVD I had and printed off this, piece of paper and put it in a disc and jacket and thought, why not talk about it? 3 great performances, I think, from 3 really talented actresses, and of course the actress who plays Eve and all the other, they're all good. These films are great films that you should see, and I wanted to know if you had some ideas of films with great actresses, great performances that you wanted to share. If you could click that thumbs up, help build the channel, subscribe if you haven't, to Cody in the Cinema.